Hey everybody, welcome to Icewater Yoga. My name is Joe Pace. Today's class is all about starting to practice inversions and duration at the wall. So as we talked about in the workshops associated with this class, we want to be mindful of what it's like to be upside down, really personalize the experience, and then come down and exit with care and with integrity. So before we even get going, if you do have high blood pressure or you have a condition, make sure you check with your doctor before you're approved to even spend time upside down in inversions. They do tend to increase blood pressure a little bit, so just something to be mindful of. And also, if this is your first time doing inversions, I highly recommend to do everything that I demonstrate, whether it's on the mat or at the wall. Make sure you're practicing at the wall as best you can, and I'll describe everything to you so you know that. And then finally, if you haven't spent a lot of time being upside down in your practice, that's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. But when you do come out, give yourself a moment before you sit up straight or stand up. So you'll be upside down, you come down out of the pose, you take child's pose, which is just right here. Take this pose. When you feel your sense of equilibrium, when you feel yourself coming back to a normal state, then you come up. It usually takes 10 seconds or so, not too long, 15 seconds, but you just give yourself that sense of calm. And it's really a nice way to honor your practice and really honor the pose that you just took. So this won't be a traditional class, but it will be an intense class for sure. So we'll start in an inversion, downward facing dog. And so as we talked about in the workshop, this is an inversion. We have our hips over our head. So we have really countered the direction gravity plays in our body, where our hips are usually lower than our head. Now our head is lower than our hips, and the benefits that come with that are all here. Now, other inversions like handstand and headstand are more intense variations, intense inversions, because now we have more limbs and more parts of the body over the head. But this is an inversion nonetheless. So start to deepen your breath. Really practicing everything we've talked about already. In the hands and shoulders especially, extending through both elbows, spinning the biceps forward, reaching through both shoulders, gripping the mat with fingertips. Just take a few minutes here to arrive, or a few moments, not minutes, moments here to arrive. And from here, on your next inhale, just gently rock it forward to plank pose, shoulders over fingertips. So shoulders slightly in front of the wrists, and just take a moment to breathe here. So body is long, crown of head, tip top of the head drawing directly forward in front of you. Reaching through both elbows, pressing through the inseams of the hands for 2. And 1. Exhale gently back, downward facing dog. Let's take 2 more just like that, a little bit quicker. Inhale, rock the weight forward. And exhale back, downward facing dog. So going from a neutral position to an inversion. Inhale forward, last time. Grip the mat with fingertips, press through index finger knuckles. Exhale back, downward facing dog. From here, please bend your knees deeply all the way to the mat. Shoulders come over wrists. Let's take a few cat-cow poses. So on an inhale, lift through the chest, lift the tailbone. Press through the inside edges of the hands. Exhale, press the mat away. Dome the upper back, spread the shoulder blades. 2 more just like that. Inhale. Exhale, press the mat away, dip the tailbone. Inhale up, last time. Exhale back. Inhale to neutral. We'll press both forearms onto the mat. All right, so we're going to move into our second inversion of the day, dolphin pose. So a little bit of warmth in the arms. We want to continue to build that heat and start to explore poses that get closer and closer to headstand. So we're going to place our forearms on the mat, walk it back for forearm plank. So forearms are parallel, index fingers are parallel, elbows directly in line with your wrists, shoulders directly over your elbows. So we keep all of this alignment in the upper body, and we walk our feet in closer to our elbows. So keep your shoulders over your elbows, and any distance you walk your feet closer to your arms and your hands. So we're not super open in the hamstrings right now, so don't worry so much about how close your feet are to your elbows. We just want to feel the sense of being upside down. Stay deep in your breath, stay focused. Feel as if your shoulder blades could reach overhead and extend out off of your back rib cage. So reaching through the shoulders, pressing through the hands and forearms and elbows. For 2 and 1. Walk it back, forearm plank. You can take it to the knees or to child's pose if you'd like. If you want the intensity, stay here. Let's take 2 more. Walk the feet forward to the elbows. Exhale. Inhale, walk them back. Exhale, walk the feet forward, shoulders over elbows. Inhale, walk it back. From here, drop to the knees, the thighs, then the hips, lift the chest through the arms. So it's a nice Sphinx pose, gentle back bend. Couple inhales and exhales here, full breaths. Okay. From here, please find your way to downward facing dog, however you get there. And then from here, bend the knees deeply, look forward, step 1 foot forward, meet it with the other. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward folds. Inhale, rise, arms come overhead. Take the opportunity to practice your handstand. Reach high, reach through the shoulders. Exhale, arms by your sides, palms face forward. Inhale, arms rise, gazes up between the hands. And then exhale, take all the length in your spine forward as you forward fold, chest hovering right in front of the legs. Bend knees is okay. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step it back all the way through your chaturanga, lower down, elbows in towards your sides. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, bend knees deeply. Exhale, step it forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, we're going to take a forward fold here. This is going to be our 3rd inversion. So grab opposite elbow, let your head and shoulders hang. And so feeling again what it's like to be upside down. Sometimes hard to describe this feeling of somewhat weightlessness in the head, weightlessness in the shoulders. But it does feel different than when we're standing straight up. So we're changing our perspective and our relation to gravity, and just learning from it. So feel what it's like to be upside down, hips over the head, technically an inversion. Knees bent to any degree. This is a really nice hamstring stretch as well. So we're rocking the weight gently forward into the front of our feet, but we're also rooting down through our heels. So again, starting this class with some really mild, not risky at all, inversions, and then we'll move to some, again, not risky, but more intense variations of inversions. Okay, from here we'll roll up from the lowermost vertebrae to the highest. Inhale, arms come overhead. Practicing handstand, reach through the shoulders, engage the quads. Exhale, arms by your sides, forward fold. So you'll notice that transition may have made you somewhat lightheaded. If it did, make sure you continue to take your time, take breaks as needed. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step it back to plank pose. Inhale, rock the weight forward. Exhale, lower through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, so now we'll take another inversion. This time we're going to take headstands. This is somewhat early in the class from when headstand is normally taken. but it's actually a really great warm-up pose if you use it as that. So headstand is one of those poses where we can fall out and there's some fear to it. So to address fear, we just need to know our exit strategies. If we know there's a monster coming, but we know there's a back door, we can always just take the back door. So in this case, if you feel like you're going to flip over, and if you just don't feel comfortable in headstand in general, take it to the wall. All right. If you do feel like you're comfortable at the wall, but you don't know how to exit the pose, the exit for the pose is actually a somersault. So I'll demonstrate that now. If you come into your headstand, put your head onto the mat, flip over, and then all of a sudden you feel like your weight's coming over, you release the hands, and then it's a somersault, just like you were 3 years old. So if now that you know you can somersault, there really should be no fear. It helps you from creating that crashing down. And there's options along the way. So let's set up our headstand. We're actually going to hold this for a good 30 seconds or so. So let's set it up properly. We'll interlace the hands. And if you're doing this at the wall, you want about 6 inches or so between your hands and the wall. So if my hands were here, I'd want the wall to be about here. And you can always bring your feet to the wall to support you. So I'm actually going to tuck in my shirt so the microphone doesn't crash into me. With wall here, we have our hands interlaced. Fingers interlaced, not so much that they're completely gripping each other, but a loose, solid grip. This inside pinky can tend to get crushed on the ground, or the bottom pinky can. So you can take that pinky and bring it inside the second to last pinky, or the opposite pinky. So now we have both the outside edges of the pinkies against the floor. All right, so now this creates a space for the back of our head. So we place the center of our head against the mat, and the cupping shape that's created with our hands comes to the back of the head. So from here, we create an equilateral triangle with the hands, the center point of the hands, and the elbows. So the distance between the elbows is the same as the length between the elbows and the hands. So now we have this nice, solid geometrical shape. Place the top of the head straight down against the ground, again, cupping the back of your head with your hands. From here, we walk the feet up, and you can stay here, all right? So this is now a little bit more of an intense inversion because our hips are even further over our head, all right? We can walk the feet in even more. And the first entry point into this pose is one heel to the butt, and then you take the other heel to the butt. All right, so you can do this at the wall, and you are in headstand. All right, so you don't have to take the legs vertical to be in headstand position. You feel the weight mostly in your forearms. You want to press so hard into your forearms that you almost feel like there's no weight in the top of your head at all. If you ever feel any crunching in the neck, you come out of the pose immediately. So continue to press into the forearms, cupping the back of the head with your hands. Reach to the shoulders. So don't let the shoulders collapse. You want to stay long through both shoulders, as if you could reach through the mat with your elbows. So we're keeping the knees bent for this first variation. Take a few more breaths. Feeling what it's like to be upside down, feeling the weight in relation to gravity flipped on its head, literally. All right, to come out, bring both knees into the chest, one foot to the mat, then the other, child's pose, please. So now you'll maybe notice a little bit of lightheadedness from being upside down that long. Feel your body and your brain and your head coming back into equilibrium as you stay in this child's pose. Okay, and as you feel ready, walk the hands back in towards you. And now we're back in our regular state relative to gravity. So now our first true hips over shoulders and heels over shoulders inversion was that headstand. Now let's take it to the wall. So I'm going to move my mat. Okay. So now you make sure you do have, if you're using a wall, make sure you have enough wall space so that if you do come out from one side or the other, that you're not crashing into a piece of furniture or anything that's going to hurt. Should go without saying. Yeah, let's practice full headstand now. So we've already done one. We've gotten a feel. And so now we're going to take a little bit longer variation. We're going to extend the legs up to the ceiling. If you just don't feel comfortable with that yet, keep the knees bent, all good. The setup is exactly the same. So my hands will be 6 inches from the wall. I'll place the hands down just like we were talking about. So both arms pressing firmly into the mat, both elbows pressing firmly into the mat. So there's very little weight pressing into the crown of my head. Okay. From there, same entry, place the top of the head into the mat. Lift the hips, walk the feet in. As the feet get light, one heel comes to the butt, then the other. Feel the weight shift into the forearms. From here, both feet come straight up. If you feel like you're going to fall over, you have the wall to catch you, so even feel for the wall. Feel your heels come in contact with the wall. You have the support of the position. Now this is where you personalize. If you feel like a shorter length of time is going to be more appropriate for you, come out early. If you feel like a little bit longer is okay, stay a little longer. We're going to be here for about a minute. So whether you're at the wall or not, feel this position of being upside down. Most importantly, stay out of your neck by reaching through the shoulders. So the back of the shoulder blades are reaching towards the ground. So you're upward rotating the shoulders, which is technically downward rotating because you're rotating them down towards the ground. All right, so practicing everything about our low body, pointing or floating the toes, zip the legs together, feel the pose get light in the legs, feel the control of the legs over you. Now imagine you're in handstand. Your legs are pressing against one another. You have the extension in the hips. Just keep heels over hips, hips over shoulders. And so now feel what it's like to stack everything on top of one another. Even if you're at the wall, feel that stacking feeling. If you're at the wall, there will be sort of a downward angle to it from heel to hip to shoulder, but that's okay. Just feel that position in your body. To come out, knees come into the chest, lower the knees into the chest, one foot comes down, then the other. Please take child's pose. So before we come up, reconfigure your sense of equilibrium. Take a few deep breaths here. Okay. Walk the hands back and towards you, kneeling down. All right. So now we felt what it's like to be upside down in headstand. Let's try handstand at the wall. So the first variation we're going to take is the most simple, straightforward variation, and we're actually going to take it with feet on the wall and hands on the mat with our chest facing the wall. So this variation is actually, in my opinion, harder to hold than regular handstand at the wall, but that's good because we want to start working on our strength as much as we can. This is a very strengthening pose. So making sure that you've come back to your equilibrium from being upside down before anything. But as you're ready, take your low back to the wall, base of the spine against the wall, heels out in front of you, straighten both legs long. You can imagine that these legs are going to be against the wall, except the soles of the feet are going to be here, the legs here, and then your hands will come straight down to where your heels are. So that's what we're going to do, place our hands where our heels were, and then now we know exactly the distance between our legs and our hands. So from here, we're going to try to hold this for 5 breaths. Take every alignment principle that we've talked about. So hands, gripping the mat, index fingers parallel, press through the inside edges of the hands. You're reaching through both elbows, spin the biceps forward. From there, take one foot to the wall, take the other foot to the wall. From here, get your feet in line with your hips. So make sure your feet are at the same height as your hips. And then from there, press your hips over your shoulders. So now we're practicing stacking. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. So be here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the knees. Step one foot down, step the other down. Child's pose if you need it. We were inverted. Otherwise, sit and recover. open the wrist so we can take a nice wrist stretch, whatever you'd like. Back of hands to the mat, stretch it out. We're gonna take a few rounds of this. Okay. So rolling out the wrists, however it feels comfortable for you. Okay, let's take variation, or let's take rep number 2. Find where your hands go. Hands go to where the heels were. Set up the hands, shoulders width, biceps forward, grip the mat. One foot, other foot meets the wall. Feet in line with the hips, and then we extend both knees, shoulders over wrist. Reach through both shoulders for 5. Maybe look towards the wall. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend both knees, step your feet down. Come to child's pose if you feel like you've come out of your equilibrium. We've practiced that, so now you know what it feels like. Okay, take a moment, reconfigure, shoulder stretch, or wrist stretch. Shoulder stretch wouldn't be bad either. So noticing how we're coming in with peace, tranquility, and calmness, being in the pose with that same state of mind, coming out of the pose with that same state of mind. We're not in a rush here. We're not trying to beat a world record. We're just giving our body a sense of what it feels like to be upside down and support weight on the arms. Okay? Let's take number 3. Base of the spine to the wall, heels out. Hands replace your heels. Set up your alignment. All right, reach or spin biceps forward. Grip the mat with your fingertips. Lift the hips. One foot comes to the wall. The second comes to the wall. Walk the feet lowered. Get in line with your hips. And then press both knees long. Gaze comes down between the hands. Reach through the shoulders for 5. Find a state of calm. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend both knees. One foot comes down, the other meets it. Come down to the knees or any comfortable seated position. Take a moment, child's pose if you need it. Work out the wrists. Always working our wrist flexibility, especially this flexed variation, right? We want to always keep this opposite action open in the wrist because we spend so much time in this extension, right? Especially with all the typing, all the stuff we do with our wrists in this position. All right, let's do another. From here, hips to the wall, heels out. Replace the heels with the hands. Set up your alignment. All right, so now we're gripping the mat, index fingers parallel. Press through the inseams, bicep spin forward, hands directly underneath the shoulders. This time, if you feel comfortable, bring your gaze back to the wall when we're upside down, okay? Lift the hips. Left foot meets the wall, in line with the hips. Right foot meets the wall, in line with the hips. From here, extend both knees long. Reach the shoulders overhead. Feel the core turn on. Pressing the feet into the wall for 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the knees. Gaze comes down to the mat, both feet down. Come out nice and slow. So we've got one more. Before we take that variation, get in your own place. This is your personal practice. If you need an extra bit of rest, please take it. Okay. Last variation here. All right. So again, practicing duration, building strength and stability before we practice duration and balance. So the full middle of the room pose. This is all the prep work for really what it feels like to just find yourself in handstand one day, honestly. Okay? So, heels out, hands are gonna replace the heels. So I like to be more specific, I like to put my fingertips at the farthest length my heels are from me. So really the point where my heels, the maximum point my heels reach, that's where my fingertips go. Okay. Now from here, there may be an adjustment for you. You just want to make sure that when you extend both knees overhead, that your shoulders are right over your wrists. All right, so our fingers are spread wide, our hands are shoulders width, index fingers parallel, spin biceps forward. One foot meets the wall, the other does. Get them in line with the hips. We're gonna be here for 5 breaths. Extend both knees. Look towards the wall if you have it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend both knees, gaze comes down, both feet to the floor. Take a moment to recover, shake out the wrists. Child's pose, always an option. Okay, so if you've got it in your shoulders and you feel like you've still got the strength to do this, we're gonna take one full handstand at the wall. So that's what we've been working up towards this whole time. It's combining the ideas of the headstand we were doing at the wall with the feet over the hips, hips over the shoulders, and the strength and stability we built in the shoulders and the upper body from those 5 reps we just did. We're gonna try to hold this for a minute. And so that doesn't mean that you're gonna try to force yourself up to this full minute, but it is the ultimate test of whether or not you should move on to the next level of classes. So don't go until you're completely fatigued and out of breath. Go until you feel like you've reached a really productive state for today. You've challenged yourself, but there's no part of it that felt like you were compromising anything in the shoulders and any part of the body. And then come back to this over time, working towards that full minute at the wall. All right, let's do this thing. So we're gonna take this all at the wall, and we want the hands to be, again, shoulders width and about 6 inches or so from the wall. So you know that you have 6 inches of clearance from feet over your hips to feet hitting the wall. And we're gonna come up in a tick-tock position. So we haven't talked about this yet, but what we're gonna do is lift one leg and then kick up with the bottom leg to reach the wall. Ideally not crashing into the wall. So watch me first. My hands will be shoulders width. I'm setting up everything in my upper body. I walk my feet in. I lift one leg. From here, I keep this leg extended. I bend into my bottom leg. And then without flinging this leg up, I kick vertically and then catch the wall lightly. Both feet come to the wall. Okay? So that's how we're going to come up. As you're ready, you can start setting up your pose now. Again, we're going to take this for a full minute. I have a timer going, and I'll check it as we go. This is going to be a full 60 seconds. So before we do anything, making sure this class is really all about knowing how to come into poses and how to come out of poses, and also be in poses. Come in calmly, be in the pose calmly, come out calmly. All right. After this one, we'll take a nice child's pose, so not rushing to standing or anything after you come out. Set up your hands, wide fingers, grip the mat, index fingers parallel, biceps forward. Choose the leg that's gonna lift. For me, it's my right leg. I'm bending in my left knee, reaching through both shoulders. So everything's already established in the upper body before I even do anything, kicking to the wall. Bend deeply into the bottom leg, and then kick vertically without swinging the top leg. Now we have the feet at the wall, and the timer starts. So we're reaching through both legs, zip the legs together, reaching through both arms. Grip the mat with your fingertips, feel your forearms turn on. Pressing through the inseams of the hands, you'll notice the index finger knuckle wants to come off the mat. Press it down. Reach through both shoulders. Zip the legs together. Play with the pointing or pointing of the feet, tailbone towards heels. You're reaching through both shoulders, attempting to spin both biceps forward. And now you're just breathing. From here, bend your right knee into your chest, right foot to the floor, coming down, child's pose. That was a full minute. Walk your hands back in towards your body. reconfigure yourself, take a wrist stretch. So no rush at all. However long you held it, you did a great job. Sometimes it's just a nice practice to try to get to the wall and try to get upside down. That's an accomplishment in and of itself. Okay. Let's move the mat back to center of the room. Let's take our closing series. So just a few poses to counteract everything that we've just did. Come to any comfortable seated position, ideally sitting on the heels. If you want to get a little toe stretch, sit on the heels with the toes tucked under. We'll take the hands interlaced to the low back, lift through the chest, lift the knuckles up and away from you. Duck the chin in towards the chest. Nice counter stretch for all that shoulder work we did. Keep your chest expanding and opening, collarbones spreading. Shoulder blades reaching down the back as you reach the knuckles down and away from you. Release that, switch the grip of your knuckles, and we'll take it again, lifting the chest high. So now we have the opposite thumb on top, perhaps the non-habitual way. Release the grip of your hands. Come to it, again, a comfortable seated position, maybe not with the toe thing going on. Take a nice, easy twist. So in any comfortable seated position, we create a long spine. Inhale. Exhale, right hand comes to your right side, left hand outside of your right leg. Just gently twist it open. Inhaling, lengthen your spine. Exhaling, deepening. So on your inhales, the top of your head grows closer to the ceiling. Exhales, your twists get a little deeper, your sit bones firmer into the mat. Inhale, back to center. We'll take the other side. Inhale, tall and long spine. Exhale, twist it over to your left. So you'll be opposite of me. Gently release, come towards center. Last time we reach the arms overhead. Reaching through both shoulders, gentle and calm. Exhale, hands to heart center, if that feels like an appropriate gesture to you. Take a moment of reflection with eyes closed. Just a single moment. You can open your eyes. Thank you for practicing with me. Let's keep this journey going. Namaste.